It's Ivy Slater, and you're listening to Her Success Story podcast, a show where gutsy businesswomen share their success journey. Hi, this is Ivy Slater. Welcome to today's episode of Her Success Story. Thrilled to be with you today, and actually it's just me. We're going to be talking about a bit of a content episode. Here's what I mean by that. Every so often we do a content episode where we really hone in on a topic. And there's been a topic that has been circling around with a variety of different clients, conversations, questions. So I figured, well, let's address this. And it talks a little bit about it talks a lot about marketing and branding. And here's what we're going to look at. You know, when we look at the concept of marketing and we look at small business, even large business, we have things that a business does to market. And it's never just one thing that you do. It's a variety of things that you do that has a culmination of impact. And here's what I mean. If we actually passed a billboard with a big Coca-Cola sign from back in the day, that Coca-Cola sign, I might notice while I was driving on the highway going home after work. Or I might see an ad for Coca-Cola or one of their products on television. I might hear it as an ad on a podcast or the radio. I might be flipping through a magazine and actually see an ad of some sort for Coca-Cola or a product of. When I go to the store and I go reach for the shelf and I pick up, my husband likes to drink Diet Coke, and I pick up that Diet Coke, is it related back to which piece of marketing, which piece of advertising spoke to me to when I was in the store? That's what I went for. We never actually know. We know a lot of information, but we don't know all the information. We can't necessarily track a sale that specifically. What is interesting though, is when people say, how should I focus my marketing? And I'll say, yes. And they'll say, what do you mean by that? I was like, well, know who your niche market is. Know who your target client is. You know, what is your niche area? Who is your ideal client, your ideal customer? Build a true profile. Name the profile. Call them Ivy, call them Fred, Joe, Mary, don't really care, but create something as specific as possible, a true avatar, and say, what is this avatar's pain points, problems, issues, that their reason they would connect with you? What are the problems you solve that looks like the problems of this avatar? Fred, Mary, Joe, Ivy. And then what is it that we are talking about in our marketing that helps communicate why we're a resource? Now, let's look at this a little further in depth, okay? Because there's marketing, there's branding, and then there's personal branding. And somebody just recently asked me to take a look at some marketing materials for their company. And I said, well, are we looking at the differentiator of marketing your brand within the company? Are we marketing you? And what's the correlation? What's the differentiation? Okay. You know, there are times I lead with Slater Success, and there's times I lead with Ivy Slater. Recently, actually incredibly recently, somebody said to me today, I was talking to a potential client, and I see, and this is a marketing agency. I was talking to a potential client, and I mentioned your name. I said, oh, thank you. And this happens to be a client of mine. And they said, yes, because they need to do they need to update their marketing. They need to work on their value mission statements. They have to understand where their targets are, this, that, and the other thing. But then they need that strategic plan to follow through, Ivy. So I thought that we'd start working with them, and then they need to hire you. And I said, well, that's lovely you thought of me. He goes, because it's really a two-step process. When I was reviewing some materials of somebody else's, I said, they're talking about this, they're talking about this, they're talking about this. Where's the overarching message or theme here? And the overarching message for this person was, what is your personal brand? Right? So when I'm speaking out on LinkedIn, I'm speaking out on Ivy Slater, right? It's my point of view. Yet when we represent Slater Success, there's times that Ivy works with the clients and times some of my coaches work with the clients with our same methodology, values, and approach. I'm hoping this makes sense. Here's a couple of things that you can do for yourself to get inner clarity for you. When's the last time you looked at your LinkedIn profile? Does it actually talk about who you are and what you do? Please, please, please don't have it read like a resume. If somebody wants to hire you, they're going to ask you for your resume. Talk about your work, that the experience of your work, right? The mission of your work, the mission of your organization, the impact you make with it in your skill sets. But please, 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 I've read way too many LinkedIn profiles that are resumes. By the way, don't ever contact me for your LinkedIn profile. Not my area of brilliance, something I delegate to brilliant people on a regular basis. Then I also look at my own website. You know, what is the mission of Slater Success? What are our values? What is our strategy? What do we do for our clients? Why do people think to call Slater Success? Sometimes they get to work with Ivy Slater, and Ivy Slater is clearly communicated in our brand. And also communicated is the value and the mission of the Slater Success company. So if they work with me, or if they work with one of our coaches, they're getting that same deliverables. And sometimes my clients work with a hybrid of a couple of us or a few of us. And that's really beautiful because we get to actually help them through their organizations on multiple levels, from the C-suite to senior management to other areas of management, making an overall impact for an organization's leadership, growth, and ability to scale in the long run. You know, so here's just a couple of things that I want you guys thinking about. Number one, what is your marketing? What is your marketing approach? Okay. If you look at Slater Success with the company, we're active on social media, one thing we do for marketing. We still are traditional and release a weekly newsletter, very often with video content. We do a podcast weekly, and we have a methodology behind our podcast and the marketing there. We release the podcast on Monday. On Tuesday, it's released in our newsletter to our subscribers. On Wednesday, that goes on to LinkedIn. On Thursday, we release a small, what's called WAV file, a little excerpt of that podcast with the transcription, right? So even that, there's a methodology in our marketing. I'm an avid networker. You know, most of you who have followed me have heard about my strong core belief of building solid relationships and building a network. Okay. That is one of my highest values, and how I show up with respect and integrity for the people I meet. And that I'm looking forward to. Like, I have a networking meeting in the morning. I'm looking forward to it. These are the people I truly like. Many I've considered developed deep relationships with over the years. So it's the bigger piece of the social media, the active marketing, from newsletters to podcasts to a LinkedIn live show, to the personal piece of networking. We want to touch on a variety of ways and look at the culmination of that for impact in building and scaling an organization. In looking back at our LinkedIn, know our LinkedIn represents us and it's part of our personal brand in our bigger company, and make sure it reflects you accordingly. Well, for today, what I'll say, if this was impactful for you, let me know what your biggest takeaway is and what you're going to do about it. As I close this show every week, I say, what are your takeaways? And most importantly, what is the action you're going to do? If you could do one thing in your marketing, what will that be? Also, if this was helpful, please pass it forward and share it with your community. That's how we have that ripple impact and share our knowledge, our wealth, and continue to learn from one another. Please continue to join us. We have some great content coming up in the next few weeks, and then we're going to be kicking off a special series in September. So enjoy your summer. Think what you could be doing in marketing. Think how you could be sitting outside on a beautiful day, having a great networking call, or taking a walk while you talk to somebody and making an impact. See you next week.